Ryan, I'm not sure I like this little judgy puppet of yours coming up from the top. I'm all happy to get this package and look at you.
Dan, it's just honest.
No.
Oh no. And I'm throwing a yellow flag at Matt Stagger.
Maybe I thought that was at Amazon in general. You're like, all right, first of all. Hola, let's go.
Welcome to Tavern Talk. We are a full spoiler live talk show based on the epic fantasy series Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Joining me as always is my brother Dan, Dancing the Gleeman, Dad Sway Sadai, and a special guest appearing again, favorite of the show, friend of the show, podcast of the dragon herself, Morgan's here.
Morgan.
Welcome everybody. Oh wait, let me get the...
Oh, nice.
Right. What was that sound? All right, hey guys, so welcome to the show. Today we are continuing our book to show series, comparing Amazon's treatment to the books, and we are now going to talk about the Trakands, probably the least polarizing family in Wheel of Time. Everyone agrees universally on their love of the Trakands. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
Sure.
I do think there are some very, very interesting aspects of this family.
Uh-huh.
And I think that without the Trakands, we wouldn't even have this wonderful novel that we love. And, you know, I think that the show gave this family a huge disservice. But
Oh, yeah.
I also think that they did a few things that they were unable to do well in the book.
Go like what?
Well, I can elaborate on a couple of things. One, one of the things about Elaine, and let me tell you first and foremost about this, she was probably my favorite character of the entire show.
I agree.
Because of the actress, because of the choices that the actress that she made for this character, and how they wrote her. Robert Jordan, dare I say this, didn't do as good of a job as getting across to us the idea of this girl who was raised in seclusion and who was raised by nobility and was raised to rule. Now, obviously, Robert Jordan gave us the raised to rule part very, 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 very well.
Yes.
But as far as being the naive girl that she was, it came out as Elaine, even though not have being out there a lot was pretty worldly. You know what I mean? In the books, she a lot of times in the books, she had her head on way, way straighter than a lot of people. And some of the cool things that I love that Rafe Judkins did with the show Elaine was he gave her one specific hobby of making beer. Something that she actually tangibly did when she was alone and in the castle and away from all the other people her age and didn't have boyfriends or anything like that. And she said, fuck it, I'm going to make beer. And that helped us see into her tinkering ways and the ways that she became someone who could craft things. In the books, it just was hit on us almost that she could do it.
Yeah. I mean, so you make a really good point. When did we start off? Obviously, with the acceleration of all of our characters, Elaine is included within there as well. So instead of being 15 or 16, whatever she may have been, I don't know if she even could get her driver's license in the books. Here she was somewhat sheltered yet worldly at the same time, right?
Yeah.
She knew a lot about the White Tower, which goes hand in hand with the books, but apparently she spent summers there. That was like her summer camp, was hanging out with the Aes Sedai and then going back to Andor. And so when we see her, that's how she makes friends, right? She's like, hey, want to get drunk on my own supply? And we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do shots with you, Elaine.
Remember a huge thing in the book when when Egwene and Nynaeve got to the tower. Elaine had already been there for months, so they had to find a way to make it look like she knew her way around the place. You know, so they had to do it that way. But yeah.
So the Elaine introduction is not done the same way in the books. When we're comparing the books, Rand had met Elaine before anyone when he fell into the garden. He also meets Gawain. He meets Galad. He meets Elida. He meets Gareth Bryn. Does he? Morgan?
Meets Gareth Bryn.
Yep.
He does.
And Morghese.
Gareth Bryn says to him that, or at least to the entire court, the blade is his. I don't know why, but it fits him. Look at the way he stands, the way he does that. The blade is his. And he's too young, but the blade is his. And he meets the entire family, the entire court.
Yeah. Morgan, would you have liked to have seen that scene on screen? Do you think that was an important scene, or was it fine to have cut it?
I mean, if we were going to do just like vignettes of different scenes in the books, then yeah, it would have been fine to see it, but I don't think it was important. I think that there are a lot of scenes that people, were loving to have seen, but as far as the way that they had.
Oh, you cut out, Morgan. You cut out there, son.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Missed the last 2 or 3 sentences.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't think the scene was particularly important. Like, it might have been interesting to see, but I don't see any way that they could have presented it to us that would have been narratively very coherent. And I don't know, there are better ways to introduce these characters that also tell other bits of the story. So, RJ presenting it as he did was fine for the way that he was telling the story, but I feel like I don't know, Rafe and Co. were telling the story at multiple levels and introducing concepts at multiple different levels, and so I felt like the way that they did it was just fine. So sure, it would have been a good scene if you were just going to show a vignette, but like I don't think that the show lost anything not seeing it.
Okay.
That's
why.
Elida,
go ahead.
Dan, real quick. Elida was the second Aes Sedai were introduced to as readers, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I remember feeling like, holy shit. Like when you meet her and the way she treats Rand and all that, like just whispering in his ear and like claiming like she had a foretelling right in front of him, correct? In a way.
That would have been a great scene.
Yeah, like that helped. I mean, they obviously introduced. They were front loading the Aes Sedai hard in the show, so we got to meet them, and even in the opening credit scene where they're just chasing down the crazy
Ryan, that's
man.
a fantastic point. Up until there, Aes Sedai were very scary. Moraine comes in, then we see this advisor who is like, oh, we should throw him in the prison for like 3 or 4 months and let me see what I can pull from him. He's like, oh, geez.
And since we are talking about Elida, because she is a branch of the Trakand family, a very integral one. They did a fantastic job of making Elida scary.
Yes,
she was scary. She was terrifying in this show. When she was definitely terrifying, and they needed to do that. The opening Trakand scene when she took the throne showed how ice cold Elida was, showed how ice cold Morghese was even, and let Trakand reign. That's what they'd said. So they came pretty hard with the family. I do still think they made a disservice because, especially with Galad and Gowan.
Well, let's stay with Morghese for a minute. Dad Swain, did you think that Morghese was shown pretty there was some baggage with her, it seemed, but then we learned that she is being compulsed the entire time we see her, more or less.
With the exception of the opening.
The opening, correct. Yeah. The opening where she straight out says, yep, kill him. We're not going to have any challenge to your reign, my dear Elaine. Do you think she was done dirty? Based on the Morghese we have in the book.
Yeah, in comparison, I think for the purposes of the show, it's fine. We kind of get they wanted to present Morghese as a force to be reckoned with, a cutthroat, ruthless ruler, that type of thing, and then, of course she loves her daughter, and she has a ongoing image with the White Tower. And I think in the books though you get a different sort of Morghese. She is a powerful ruler, but she's kind of earned it, and not through necessarily stabbing little ladies in the neck or whatever.
Right.
But there's a sense that she's politically keen and insightful on the currents in Andor and in the interactions that she has with the different nations. She's a respected queen in the world, kind of the archetype of what all the other nobles aspire to, in a sense. So I know that we got that in the show, but I wasn't disappointed in the Morghese that we got in the show. I thought Olivia Wilde did a really good job of just presenting that character to us.
Oh, I think so too. I do think though in the book, Morghese, I know some people don't like her character, but I know some people really do. And I thought that Morghese, especially for Robert Jordan, was a wonderful, brilliant way of showing how someone with all the power in the world, with all of the command, can still have a growth arc. A very, very intense growth arc that she went through, living like a commoner, going through all those things. That's a really, really good character. That it's a great character to have. And obviously, that's another disservice. They took that away from her in the show, and they would have never had that in the show to begin with.
Right. Morgan, to follow Jansen's point, we didn't see Talonvor. We didn't see. We saw that she was compulsed. But do you think that within the tight structure of 8 episodes per season, that this is do you think we would have seen anything else about Morghese?
I think we would have seen that she died. I think that they were just setting it up. That was one of the reasons why, instead of having her be good Queen Morghese, they had her be interesting, cutthroat Queen Morghese, because they needed her to just make an impression, make an impression. So have her be willing to, kill her enemies in order to protect her daughter, protect the throne, and also set up how it didn't do her any good anyway, because the Forsaken came out and are causing problems. And so, yeah, I think that the next time we heard about Morghese, it would have been that Gabriel had killed her. And frankly, I think that that's a better plot. I think that being unwilling to kill people was one of Jordan's weaknesses, and that in Morghese's case, it was one of the ones where he was least well served, because, to have a plot right there where it's obvious that Elaine is going to become queen sometime during the course of the story, you have to do something with her mother. He gives her a story, but it's sort of like not particularly necessary to anything. And so, yeah, great writing for the show to just set her up to be killed, and in the same time let her make an impression. I thought they did a great job with that.
Yeah, to your point, Morgan, I personally think that Morghese's story, while it did get a little on the lovey-dovey side and whatnot, I think it culminated pretty well. I liked how when she shows up and shocks both Galad and Gawain at their specific times, because everyone thinks she's dead. And so this really kind of directed the story. I think if Galad wouldn't have really listened as much to Perrin if it wasn't his mom there with him, serving him fucking tea.
Also, I'm going to give an honorable mention, and this is also a testament to Robert Jordan's creativity and how rich, the Wheel of Time actually is. Lenny. Lenny was wonderful in the book.
Yeah.
She was the very lighthearted comic relief all the time. Of always like the Jiminy Cricket on someone's, even people's shoulders that she never met in the books. There are plenty of times I remember when Nynaeve even said, "I got her meet that lady one day," and used one of her sayings. So Lenny was so talked about in the books, and she was a great character, and that was completely taken away from the show, obviously. And that was something that just added another layer of richness to the Trakand family.
Am I alone in thinking whenever I read Lenny's parts, I picture the "Where's the Beef" lady?
So we
Jansen,
are lacking...
your mic's wait, real quick, Jansen, your mic's a little bit quiet. If you could either get closer or yeah, you're a little quiet.
We have Lenny is not there. We have Talon Wars not there. We heard the name Gareth Bren, but we did not see this person. I don't think.
No, we did not see.
There was another one that was in my head. That, anyways, these were necessary cuts. Was we never saw Andor, did we?
Just the inside of the
throne room.
The Lion Throne, yeah.
Yeah, the Lion Throne.
Oh, that's right. That weird beginning. Okay.
Yeah. With the Panthers.
To be honest, I actually hated that. I did not like that scene. I think it could have been done so much better.
I didn't like it because there's no way you could not compare it to the Red Wedding.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I did not like that. Just couldn't.
And I thought the Lion Throne was tacky looking. I swear it reminded me of a Vegas, entryway into Vegas. I so many things about that whole scene bothered me.
I thought it was I thought it was a great scene just because I felt like it was Rafe saying to all of the multiple rereaders, look at me trim all of these plot lines because right there they're
Yeah,
killing
no
all of
doubt.
these people who are giant
Yeah.
pains in the asses later on in the series and part of like Elaine's succession arc and just fucking with things later on. So it was just here's a problem gone, here's a problem gone, here's a problem gone. And I was just sort of like, well done. Well done.
Literally snipping on screen. Yeah.
There was something about the scene in the books though that I thought I guess I wish they could have found a way to give me some moments of that. Like there was a line that Rand said when he saw Morghese, and he said she looked like what Elaine would be when she was like full and ripe or matured or whatever. And it gives this sense that like Morghese, who is like the weakest channeler in the entire books, that's not the source of her power. Like her power comes from herself and her ability to reign and her status as the queen. But I just like that line that he looked at her and he was kind of like, oh, this is what Elaine is going to become.
But I like it too because
she could have been the worst cook and the most slovenly housewife in the whole Two Rivers, and she would have still had 100 suitors.
I like also the fact that the way that they presented her provided an opportunity to be like Elaine is not her mother because it was they had already had a whole season of showing exactly who Elaine is. Yeah, she's smart. Yeah, she's capable. Yeah, she can be, like crafty and devious, but she also shoots it straight and is, loyal, good, kind, honest, and all of those things. And so it's just like it shows a very different type of person. And I feel like that contrast is much better than just having her be like a mini Morghese.
Yeah, I agree. I think also the Morghese that we got in the show would not have. It gives that differentiation of. There's a line that Elaine says where she says, Andor will always be a friend to the Dragon Reborn, and you can believe that when Elaine is saying it. Not just because she's in that little crowd, but it is the way that she presents herself, is how she wants to rule, how she wants to be a queen. And you don't really get that from Morghese as much. You know that she would probably try to manipulate or something, Rand.
And that with Morghese, it comes across as a little bit self-serving, or that she's doing it just for Andor's sake or whatever. And while Elaine, when she's having the conversation with her mom, or her mom's like, are you doing it for Swan or for Andor? And Elaine's like, I'm doing it for me. And yeah, she is doing it for her own personal self-growth in order to become a better queen. She's also doing it basically for the light. She's actually doing it and building Andor's strongest alliance because it's what's not only best for the country, for her throne, but what's best for the world.
Yeah, and
Elaine, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, on top of that, Elaine gives the impression that she doesn't, even though she is in line for the throne and it is her birthright, she needs to earn it. She needs to, she knows in herself that she's going to be a great queen, or she strives to be a great queen. And you get this from the books too, a little bit, like she doesn't just walk in and she's like, well, I'm the daughter heir, so this throne belongs to me. She knows that she has to kind of earn that, earn the loyalty of the houses in the Andorran houses. And so I did get that from the show. I like the way that they did that, where they were kind of like, it's not just a throne that she's taking because it belongs to her, but it's something that she believes that she needs to earn.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't her decision, unfortunately, to leave the White Tower to just do the token whatever 6 weeks and then split? So there was talk about, but I could be the first like real Aes Sedai in like, I don't know, probably 1,000 years. That's probably it was probably 1,000 years. So like
openly Aes Sedai.
Right. But then after she talked to her mom and she's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna split. I guess I gotta split. I decided I'm not gonna stay. Right? This is what happened in the show?
Yeah, and I feel like I got that from a multiple level. Like Nynaeve said the same thing, Egwene said the same thing, and that kind of hit me the wrong way, because Egwene and Nynaeve both were like, we need to study because we are not strong enough to protect Rand or protect ourselves. And like the first chance that they get, they're like, fuck off, White Tower, bye. And
Yeah.
so I felt that from Elaine too. She's like, I need to study because I want to be the first openly Aes Sedai queen.
But
and then it
Morgay
was-
says, nope.
yeah,
Get your ass
and then
back home.
Elaine's like, I'm out. Bye.
Okay. I
while
mean,
you're
is
thinking,
that
Dan, real quick, let's I'm shocked that our chat would allow such slander, but yeah, the show could have shown a little more of how Aes Sedai respect in the world and how the world is there, Puppet.
how Uber Spearmint? How
I know
fucking
we
dare
don't
you?
abide by puppet slander.
No, puppets are autonomous. There is no ownership. It's not there. And besides, it's THEIR.
No,
You're
it's
gonna
not
slander.
offensive.
If you're gonna
yeah.
slander, I'm gonna grammar it. Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, it's all good. That's funny.
We have not talked about the boys yet, and we're jumping back and forth. I still want to talk Elaine, but let's talk about the boys. The boys, we do not get a sense of anything in the show besides that they are fuck hounds and will just tear through all the novices in your summer camp.
I think we get a decent sense of Galad. You don't get much about Gowan.
Mm.
I think that they do a pretty good job of showing that Galad is like the, overbearing, misses this man bothering you, and also just a very upright and sanctimonious prick, and doing a really good job of showing the contrast of the type of relationship that Elaine has with her brothers, where she's just really, lovey and has almost like a puppy-like relationship with Gowan, and it's like just a very chaste kiss on the cheek with Galad, where it's sort of like, she goes through the motions, but it's obvious that she can't stand him.
That's an amazing comment.
Galad is pretty hot though.
Yeah,
They both are.
they played that up. I was watching an interview with Gawain, the actor who played Gawain. Can't
I
say
love
his
that
name
guy.
to save my life.
Luke Featherston.
Yeah, also that actor is really gay, and I was wondering if they were like not going to make the relationship between him and Egwene, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Mm.
No, they definitely weren't, because there was no sparks in his eyes when he saw her, and there were in the books.
Yeah.
A lot of different times. And I think that I could, the character that they showed as Gowan, I could never see even close having a relationship with the show Egwene. I couldn't see it. What I don't like is that I know that, and I happen to be one of them, a vast number of fans hate Gowan. He's the most hated.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the characters in the books didn't think so.
Gawain is,
Yeah.
so we had a discussion how Gawain, it's the Nickelback dilemma, where everyone thinks they're supposed to hate Nickelback, but then a Nickelback song's on and you're like, oh, this is kind of a bopper.
I like
Gawain,
Hey, I like Nickelback way more than I like Gowan.
Gowan is a victim of his circumstances. We'll do a show on Gowan for sure if you want, because I think that he is so misunderstood. The guy does his very best, and if he had killed Demodred, game over. He would have won. He sacrificed for himself, just the way Egwene sacrificed herself. This all would have been game over. Like, he was doing. We don't get mad at Lan for jumping in and trying to do the shit, even though it would have affected Nynaeve. I mean, gosh, he was the only guy who turned into like a Marvel superhero. He put on stuff and became magic. He was all blurry and shit.
Yeah, I think he. Yeah, I think he was
rad.
I think that he had, like, I liked the speech that Gareth Bryn gave him in the book, and he was kind of like, you need to get your shit together, you need to figure out what you believe, and you need to really put that in your heart and go for it. But I don't know that Gawain did that in the books, because I feel like with Nynaeve and Lan, they both understood on a fundamental level what their duty was to the last battle, to the tower, to the lights, to whatever. So they were able to go, I'm going to go head to head with Demandred, because if I die, I know that's going to affect Nynaeve, but we both understand this duty. And I don't know that Gawain did that. I think he made some really foolish choices with the Terangriel rings, not really understanding. I don't think he fully understood, the position that Egwene held, and the bond and the the one power and how that affected Egwene on that level. So I think he took some really stupid choices, not realizing how that would have affected them. I mean, in the end, they both died, but it was kind of like,
can we blame Sanderson for Gawain?
mm,
Because
Yes.
I mean, okay, thank you, Morgan. Because Gawain was the coolest cat in the world. He was the one who saved Rand from imprisonment. He's like, oh, hey, Elaine, that was a weird fruit that fell from this tree. Let's help him up. Like, he protected him from Galad. He was the man. He was like, and he was baffled by all the stuff that was going on, but he let Swan go. That would have stopped it. Like, everything he did was a good thing. I don't know why people hate him so much when there's so many other hateable characters.
I think people hate him because RJ did him a disservice where they made him utterly illogical, because it's sort of like the beginning of the 6th book. You have where he comes across the peddler, where they're scouting out the area near Dumai's Wells. They're setting up the whole bit for the kidnapping, and he comes across the peddler who tells him that the dragon has taken Camelin and their queen is dead. And it says that he did it, and so he's sort of like, thinks that Elaine might be dead too, and is sort of like, he's going to kill Rand. And then later on in the book, he gets up with Egwene. He hooks up with Egwene and Kyrienne. And she's like, no, he didn't kill him. And there's or he didn't kill your mom. And he like doesn't believe her. Is like, can you prove it? And it's like, yeah, she can prove it. She was there when he found out about how she died, how Morgase died. And it was like, yeah. And so there's a perfect opportunity to be like, yeah, I have proof. I was there the day that he found out she died. And his immediate thing was to go and avenge her. Problem solved, and then it's like, do you believe your girlfriend or not? And if you don't, you're an asshole. And if you do, then there's no more I hate Rand. So it's just like, it was poor writing on RJ's part and illogical. And so it's annoying. And I think that there's just this fundamental sense of irritation because it's not logical. And so it's not Gowan the character. It's misdirected, and it's not Gowan the character's fault necessarily. It's just like a flaw in the writing. Every time I come across it where there's that scene and he's like, do you have proof? And it's like, yeah, you do. And all she got, you were there when he found out she died, so it's just like yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, it drives me nuts every time, because I'm like, RJ, you committed to this bit of you wanted Gowan to hate Rand, and so you like completely missed this part where it like fell apart logically. So yeah,
Lad doesn't find out
I think
until
it's something
later.
very, very, very different.
Oh yeah,
because in the real world, if this was true and Gowan acted the way he really did, you know what I think? And we already established in the books that it was jealousy. I honestly think Gowan could never, ever, 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 ever live up to his wife's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Like Sanderson came up with the whole. I don't know.
Jealous of Rand.
I don't pay much attention to a lot of the stuff that happens in the last 3 books because I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's like Sanderson choices is like, I'm like, is that really canon? It's like, because like, was that what RJ was building towards? So yeah, I don't know. But also I find that believable too, because he does seem like kind of.
Well, Robert Jordan was still alive when Egwene was looking in her dreams, and Gowan looked into Gowan's dreams, and he was fighting Rand.
Well, yeah.
He took
his
head.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that? He took his head of jealousy. The whole time.
Well, she perceived it as he was rescuing her, but yeah.
Yeah, from the very beginning, it was like, I'm telling you, it's boyfriend envy.
Yeah, okay.
And in his dream, he was totally winning.
And he was also
totally winning
against the Dragon Reborn.
Totally like hooking up, like, and took his head, like. And I remember, and I can even quote Egwene. She's like, "Oh, I have to leave this nonsense." That's exactly what she said. Like, that is exactly what a woman says to a jealous guy about her ex-boyfriend. I gotta leave this crap. Like,
Yeah,
oh, get me
it's
out of
fine.
here. Like, totally.
Hot mess. Yeah, I think Garwin too represents, and maybe this is also why a lot of people get irritated, is he represents somebody who does have a good motivation. Like I really believe that by reading Garwin, that it's kind of like, I believe he wanted to do the right thing. I believe he wanted to do good things, and he felt like he needed to do that. He had a sense of responsibility to it. He also, that was his moral compass, but he just chose the stupidest path to do that. And for me personally, I resonate with that in my early life, especially wanting to do good and making like really dumb choices that ended up, everybody was like, Jesus Christ, Aaron, what is going on with you? And I was like, I just want to be good.
Yeah.
And you know, I luckily had time to mature. Garwin, you know, sort of died, but
Well, can we see Gawain as being, let's say, like where Rand has his destiny thrust upon him? Gawain had a destiny. As a baby, he held a sword over the crib, saying, "I'm going to protect. I'm the sword of the first sword," or whatever. He. This was like, as a baby, this was his thing. And then right off the bat, it became pretty clear that he is not there to protect Elaine at all. Elaine's doing her own shit. He ain't protecting her, and then gets attached to Egwene. And he's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, you can fuck off if you want. I don't need you. Stop guarding my door. Get away. Even though these assassins got, like, the whole thing is just going, just trying to do fucking good stuff. He ain't bad. He's just
no, but
like,
he doesn't accept.
He just has some very strong women who have very strong opinions about his behaviors.
Yeah, but he doesn't accept that. Like, even with Elaine, you know, I think there's a moment where he says something to Egwene about his sister training in the tower, and Egwene's kind of like, I don't think he realizes how powerful Elaine is. And then later, you know, she has that kind of same discussion with him where she's like, you don't actually accept that I'm the Amelin seat, do you? You know, so he had this kind of, you know, glaze in front of him that he only saw his sister, and he only saw Egwene, which is fantastic, but it also negates the power that they possess in themselves, and I think that was a hindrance to him.
I would say that Matt had the same glaze over his eyes, and we don't hold it against him.
You know what?
He was like, I've got to get you out of here, Egwene. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Dan, you're changing my mind a little bit about Gawain.
Let's go, baby.
I'm starting to think a little bit that a lot of Gawain's stupidity stems not from him, but from his sister, from his wife, and from a lot of their associations, especially the White Tower itself. Because here we have a man who is extremely capable. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremely intelligent, and sometimes, but he's never, ever, ever completely informed of anything. He's always misinformed, always kept in the dark from everyone that he knows on both sides, actually, now that I think about it. And then, like Matt, treated poorly because he acted on the information that he only had.
Mm-hmm. He did a very traitorous act.
So
he
let Swan Sanche go.
Well, he also killed his leader, the
Hammer
water coach.
Yeah, Hammer guy. Then he did. Hamar. He did. Hamar. He did. But yeah, he fundamentally. I mean, the thing about him is he did make the wrong choices. And some of the choices that he did make weren't about being informed or anything. It was about what he believed or what he chose. Like, he chose to stand with the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And he chose to stand with the tower even though his sister, the love of his life, didn't. And not only his brother didn't either. Galad didn't stand with the tower. He left. So
Galad became he became third party.
He did.
He became a sovereign citizen. He did.
He did.
He's like, your laws don't apply to me.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, you
Garwin reminds me a lot of on those like shows like Sherlock or Elementary or whatever. You have the board and it just has strings going everywhere,
Yeah.
connecting everything. And sometimes I think Garwin is like that, where he just, he's like, okay, here's the string. I'm for the tower, and then it's because Swansonche, sent his sister away. So he's got upset about that. And so then the string goes this way. And then he sees Min and he's like, oh, I've got to get her out of the tower, even though I should turn her in. And here's Swan, and I should probably turn her in. And so here's the string going this way. So a lot of times I think it is him, spending a lot of the books just kind of not having his own personal convictions, but trying to rely on the stuff that was implanted on him. Like you said, they were like, here's a sword. You're a kid. Make this oath. You don't really understand it, but it's your job to protect your sister. And then that's kind of it. And he trains with Garrett Bryn, yes, but he's got a lot put onto him. Oh my God, am I becoming an apologist?
Come on.
Yes.
He did great.
But he
with the
doesn't.
younglings.
Yeah, there's not a sense of. And Morghese does this with Galad later, where she's like, what I should have done is helped you see the gray more than just the black and white, which is your natural state. And I think Garwin had that same thing, is that people were putting things on him and they didn't really take the opportunity to develop his own personal convictions about the job that, or the obligations that he had in life.
I think Gawain is a victim of very poor communication by a very distracted woman. So I think Egwene had so much on her plate that she set aside Gawain, and he was more a pest than anything. While he was, Jansen, to your point, was a very capable person, and he's like, you know what? I need to take this matter into my own hands, and I don't blame the cat. Because he had his woman had a lot of responsibilities.
And I know, like Morgan says, a lot of his POVs and things were written by Brandon Sanderson. We know that. Definitely, that goes without saying. But that being said, some of his POVs were pretty good. They had some. I remember one of my favorites, actually. I can't even remember him saying he was talking about his father, and he said he didn't remember his father much because he was too young, but he remembers one thing his father said to Galad, and it was, "There are two people you never trust: beautiful women and Aes Sedai.
Tinkers.
God help and the light help you, son, if you ever have to." And that was when Gawain was in with the rebel forces trying to talk to Lelaine. And she was talking about her specifically because he was trying to get her to go rescue Egwene from the White Tower. But Gawain was capable, and he definitely had a big part in the post Robert Jordan era.
This is a guy who had a doctorate but was being asked to be a house husband and not even take care of kids, just hang out and dust and maybe read. No, he was not given. What did Egwene assign for him to do that was actually something that he felt benefit and joy from?
Well, here's the thing, though, because you got it a little you got it a little wrong, though, because you're saying he was told to be put in this position, but he was told to choose whether or not he wanted to be in this position. And it's two very different things. To be a warder, you have to make that choice, no matter whether or not your wife's one of the sea folk Browns with no power in the library or the Amyrlin Sea.
Right, and so can we compare him to Bail Doman? Bail Doman took to his subservient role well, and Gawain Did
I was
not.
gonna say no. He
Well,
didn't.
I mean, no. Compared to Gawain.
No, he refused to do whatever. He even took a beating for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, he
was
just-
always like,
He
oh,
refused when
with
he got
Lewin.
punished by a kid and he refused to sleep with her.
Mhm.
He was like, okay, you want to beat me? You're getting none of this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but still, within that, hold on, Jansen. Let's be real. Within that relationship, the power dynamic was that Bail Doman was the subservient supporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I believe he again and left that behind though when they got married.
Oh.
Did Gawain
okay.
and Egwin smash?
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm assuming. I think they got
Yeah.
married the night before
There
they
was-
died,
They
though,
got
so
married in
probably
front
only
of their
once.
parents, but don't you remember even in one of Egwene's POVs, she talks about how she was such a young girl when she used to think about like making love to Gawain. Now it was nothing, like now she enjoyed, she loved the fact that she could make love with her husband. She said
All right,
that
so
to herself.
yeah, so let's dig into that. Imagine the disappointment. You've been in his dreams where his dick is like girthier, veinier, longer, more erect. He lasts longer. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He can carry you around the room. He's like you can float up, and you're like, oh, you're just floating in Tellerandrion. Your wedding night, and he's like, yeah.
That never happens to me.
On the TV
Ugh.
show, he was just slamming walls. Oh. In real life, he's like, oh.
That sounds like Grinder.
But I mean, that might be true. But in Tellerandrion, Egwene had an hourglass, and in the real world, I think Egwene might have looked like a 2x4. So you never know.
So the whole experience has got to be better in the dream, especially when you're like lucid. I don't even know if you can call it lucid. You are Egwene dreaming,
Mhm.
Yeah, so
where
that is-
I'm
that
sure
is-
she's laying in bed, sleeping, going, like just rolling in her bed asleep.
I mean, that is pretty much the definition of Tellerandrion is a lucid dream.
I don't know. That was just funny. Let's talk Galad. Galad. We did not get to go into Galad's character arc at all. Galad did not become a White Cloak. He did. We heard that he had this right and wrong structure. We also saw that Elaine was very cold and dismissive to him, did not like him, even more so than the books, I think.
Oh no, I don't agree. I thought she was a lot kinder to him than in the book.
Oh, okay.
She seemed much more measured.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
the
I also
symbol-
Go ahead.
The symbol for the Aes Sedai, the ancient symbol, the circle with the flame of Tarvalon and the dragon's fang, the sinuous line, and all that. I actually believe that symbol is the personification of Galad down the track. He even is from two different families of both sides. He is the only one who has that distinction. He's a White Cloak as well, who also people look at as bad, but's good, but he does the right thing all the time. He is conflicted all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, and battling against himself evenly, and thinking with with even thought and solid thought. I think he is the personification of that sign.
Jansen,
Cool.
the way you're describing him makes me think that Rafe would have had him as a dark friend because he is so binary.
That's possible.
And just like who is it? The logistician who
I could see
the
that
Forsaken
for-
who was like, yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that
Shamiel?
for Shogalad,
Shamiel.
but I could see that for Show Galad, but I could never see that for Book Galad.
No, I'm talking, just the way
Yeah.
it's shown.
Book Galad, if Book Galad even stepped foot into the Darklands realm, he would have hung himself from a tree the next day.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked was I did like Galad in the show, but I don't know that we got the dynamic of the brothers. I think Gawain turned out to just kind of be a fuckboy, and we didn't really get to see. And also in the books, Galad was the superior swordsman, and we didn't, we saw him kind of get defeated in Gawain and Galad's little duel, and then with with Matt and the brothers, he didn't really perform up to standard for me. But
what did you think of that scene? I think we talked about it with Matt, but guys, what did you think about that fight scene?
Yeah, I liked the way they did it in the show. Because
I liked it better in the show.
I did, and I think the way that they separated the kind of the intro to them being, horny princes, trying to get the novices and accepted, and then showing a different dynamic of a fight between Matt and the brothers. I feel like that was done very excellently.
What do you think, Morgan? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jensen.
No, go ahead, Morgan. She can go first.
I thought it was done pretty well. I thought that I liked the scene in the books just because it's some of the earliest Matt POVs that you get, and so you're getting a lot of serious character dump, and you're also getting major contrast because the first two books you're just seeing how everybody else sees Matt, and so it's really quite both distinct, but also, I don't know, I think those early Matt POVs in The Dragon Reborn are some of RJ's best writing, and so I find that whole scene and the kind of like desperation, the fact that he really needs the money, he wants to get away, you're learning that he can actually fight because you haven't really known very much about him and his capabilities, so you're starting to see, he isn't just this dumbass that gets into trouble all the time and is impulsive and stupid and a whiner, which is kind of how his friends perceive him. He can fight, he's capable, he can plan, he can do all these things. So I appreciate the scene from that point. As far as like watching a cinematic scene. Like, what's the word?
A cinematographic.
One of them words. where
Cinematograph.
Yes, a cinnamon bun scene where he's where he's fighting. I thought it was really well filmed, and just done really well. And because they made the boys so unlikable, like at least in the books, you dislike Glad because you're supposed to dislike him, and they kind of make it clear, like, don't like this guy. And I think RJ did that partly because he was going to be like, haha, you thought Galad was the one who sucks later on in the books, and he pulls that switcheroo on you.
Morgan, did you miss having a crowd?
Nah, I don't care.
Oh, okay. I missed having a crowd.
I missed that. I think they should have had him bet like they did in the books.
Yeah,
they did.
He kind of did. Yeah,
they did. He said 2 marks from each of you.
Yeah, they did.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Something that they did differently, I think. See, in the book, when Matt got into the battle with them, he showed that he could best them to them and to everyone in the yard, that he was really, really good with the bow and he could beat those 2 guys. In the show, there wasn't a giant crowd, and he grabbed Galad by the neck and basically told him, "I can kick your ass."
Yeah.
And then he walked away.
You okay?
I think so.
Yeah, he showed him, "I can kick your ass, man." Like, do not fuck with me. Like,
and then
I liked it better.
Something we got in the books too, which makes sense because you have much more of a platform to create, description and story. But something we got in that fight scene in the book was the idea that, after the boys were defeated, Hamar was like, "Who is the greatest swordsman ever?" And they were like, Mr. Guy or whatever his name was. And
Mr. Guy.
And then they were like, and how was he defeated? Well, who defeated him? And they were like, this other dude, with the quarterstaff. And so you get this sense of
his name is it's James.
James. And then you get this sense of how the Wheel of Time will circulate and respin people's lives, and that which was an ongoing thing in the books that you caught because it happened in this imagery, which was probably more difficult to do, of course, in a television platform. But I did like that in that scene in the books, because it was kind of like, oh, this is a retelling of this person's story.
We're getting a little lost in these weeds, but I want to ask you, so did that scene, the scene in the books seem to indicate that Matt was weak but grabbed these things, and he technically shouldn't have won, but like his newfound kind of powers made him win? That's how I interpreted that. Was that translated at all in this battle scene?
See, I didn't get it that way from the books, because he had actually told Galad and Gowan that he did really well in the games back in Beltane, and the only people who were better were his dad and Tamal Thor.
Sure, but these are bumpkins. These are this is like a tiny soccer team going up against Real Madrid and being like, oh no, I'm the best juggler.
To quote Jared Beyer, farmers can be really, really, really dangerous. They're good with the bow or the arrow. Or
the whole point when Elaine's brothers are like, you've been sick, we're not going to take this bet, their teacher specifically is like, wants them to take the bet because he knows that it's a lesson. Right. He afterward looks at Matt and is like, you look like shit, are you sure? Basically, but otherwise he like is pretty convinced, like, even if this kid is middling with this quarterstaff, he can kick these guys' ass and this will be a teachable moment. And then Matt handily beats them and is quite sure he can beat them, because
so Ryan and I have a theory that if Matt had not wagered anything, he would have got his ass kicked.
Oh yeah,
that this was his manifestation of luck, and his manifestation of luck almost always involves wagers. And
I don't know. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's.
I was going to say, I don't know that I would agree that it had anything to do with luck more than just being really motivated that he couldn't afford to lose his money.
He was also very. You have to remember this too. He was pretty confident that he could do it. And if you think about this, he was also very weak. If he was in 100%, he would have done it quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think with a weapon that's not a gun or a bow, I don't really think that there's anybody, and I'm including Land in this, that could take Matt out.
Because Matt developed, he learned he like became Matrix to a certain degree when he went into the Snakes and Foxes, but this hasn't happened yet. He is just fighting these guys, and the fact that he insisted on the wager, I mean, are we wrong? Is this not maybe an aspect of TAVERN luck nature that
I think it's a matter of reach? There was a reason that people couldn't beat John Jones for ages. It was because he had really long arms. But if you got a long stick and you can just whack, I really think it's a matter of reach.
Yeah, I also think
and the memories of 1,000 generals who know how to use weaponry, man. This dude is a dangerous.
He didn't have that yet, though.
That's true, but
is to our point. So Morgan, you think if he had not insisted on betting a wager, he still would have won? There is a bit of luck because he does turn and he cracks someone over the head that he did not plan on doing.
That's on the ship, on the river later on.
I thought it was also in the fight.
No, that's on the river,
and then
the boat later on.
Ankle knee.
He stops himself actually because he's about to do a killing blow.
Yeah. Well, okay, all right. So
no, I don't think you're wrong, but I think that it it's kind of like when an X-Man develops their power for the first time. It's not a full expression of that power, and it's not even a power that they can necessarily control. It just kind of happens, and so I think in that moment, maybe the wager activated the luck, and so he didn't really need it necessarily because he was trained, as we said, and he was very skilled. But I wonder if it edged around, and the TAVERN kind of like helped
It's
him a little
like-
bit, but didn't necessarily need that.
I don't know, define really skilled. He fucked around with his friends while these guys were like trained
Well, no, that's not
warders.
true because there was an actual competition in the Two Rivers. You know,
No,
so it was-
it's fucking around with his friends. So yeah, I mean, and it happened once a year.
yeah, but I mean,
And, you know, they just bunk, 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 bunk. I mean, all right.
I
get
know.
what you're
I have
saying.
a
I
sense
hear
that
he was
that
15 or 16. Apparently, he could beat two fucking really
Like,
trained
yeah,
guys with
highly
swords.
trained,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
knights, basically.
this
yeah, but I
doesn't
think
make
that we
sense.
I think that we make the mistake of saying, okay, just because they are royalty and they are from being trained by a military general, yes, that gives them exceptional skill, but then we lessen the amount of skill. Tam was also a blades master, and Abel was very capable with the bow
Right.
staff. So I think that they've got their own things in the Two Rivers that they've got to fight. They've got to fight wolves. They got to fight animals. They got to fight things like that.
Mm.
So that maybe the princes don't have things. So the skill set might be different, but it might also be there might be an equilibrium between them based on what they've trained with. And as Morgan said, I think the staff is much longer than the sword, so he did have a sort of advantage of the weapon.
But Matt Steger had said there was no dice rattling. His luck is not dependent on the dice. The dice and the luck, I think, are two separate things.
The dice
Or they're
indicate
connected.
romanticness.
Right, but he'll still win at cards or dice or
Without the
whatever.
dice.
without
Yeah, the dice aren't rolling every time he's gambling. Yeah.
Well, remember that scene where he needed to find, what was it, the building, and so he just kind of did this thing. And his luck worked for him, but there was not necessarily dice rolling around in his head. I know we're talking about Matt.
He also did that in the Tower of Genji. He's like, this way, this way, this way.
Yeah. He also, what do you call it? Like, I mean, there's a reason Robert Jordan made him bet.
Mm-hmm.
It's either just so we could all have these fun conversations debating whether or not it was meaningful, but I always found it profoundly meaningful that he bet. And another example is when that cut purse was like on him on this like railing up high in the city, and he's like, well, time to roll the dice, and then he flips him over, kills him, lands on him, like all that stuff.
And he took his money. Yeah, and he had it. Yes, Ryan, keep going. Sorry.
No, I mean, just saying, like it's
hallelujah.
Yeah, it's all the factors for me lead up to the fact that, like, had he not made that bet, he is a goner, because like Dan said, even though okay, yes, it's a longer stick. It's longer than a sword. These guys are highly trained. They're training these warders. They're like killing machines.
I understand. I'm gonna go with Morgan on this though, but Hamar was more skilled. Even though later Garwin killed him, he was their trainer. He was the one who trained them, and he ascertained that he believed that Matt could beat them. He didn't know anything about Matt's luck. He didn't know anything about Matt being TAVERN. He didn't know anything about that. He just knew that looking at Matt, he was like, okay, I think that this can be a lesson for them. So his assessment of Matt as a person who was a blades master and also highly skilled was that Matt would be able to best two of his students that were exceptionally trained. So I think there is maybe something to be said on that as well.
Okay. Good. Yeah, good arguments. I mean, you're both wrong, but it's fine.
So let's move on to Gareth Bryn. Gareth Bryn was mentioned but not seen. His character arc would have been obviously drastically different because his betrothed, his love interest, lost her head.
Yeah.
That's super funny.
Was it? Oh. Right. That would have had to. Well, and they focused Swan as Moraine's love interest, not necessarily having that open to, or that we know of by season 3, open that being into other sexualities or anything.
Would we have seen Gareth Bryn at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
Let's
Maybe as a passing character, or maybe as somebody who kind
again.
of showed up, in moments. I guess as the tower split, they would have had to bring him in as the general, so I'm sure we would have seen him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we would have, but his arc would have been way different. Would we have? All right, I think this is the last time we're doing book to show things. So, would we have seen a Rebel Aes Sedai? Would we have seen the Little White Tower, Morgan?
I'm not sure. I thought that we would have. Now I'm not exactly sure what they did. I'm pretty sure that I had heard that Sophie Okonedo wanted to leave the show, and that's why they did what they did with Swan. And I don't think that we would have gotten Gareth Bryn, and her Swan and Gareth Bryn, their two purposes were as support characters for Egwene's arc. So I guess that they were going to kind of leave Egwene to do it on her own. So I'm wondering if they would not have bothered to do the Little Tower, and if they would have just had Egwene come back to the tower, either being captured for some reason, but because Elida doing Elida stuff, deciding to be, these powerful novices need to be back. They need to be captured if they don't come back on their own or whatever. And then she does her thing from the inside all on her own. Which would have been an interesting story. I don't know, but I don't think that they would have brought him, just because it's like another main character to kind of have to fill in. And I don't know. It just didn't seem like they were planning for that, because it's sort of like they were trying to give the Trakands their place, but it was almost like that episode was to give Elaine an episode to really give her kind of a foundation, and also to introduce Elida and give her a foundation. So it was sort of like a two-part episode, or two-purpose episode. Like, here's Elida, now you know about her, set up for the coup, and then here you met Elaine last season, you know a good bit about her, but now you know her backstory, and give you an idea of where she's going forward. And I'm with Jansen. I think Kira Kovini did by far the best job of anyone in the series embodying her character. And I know that Rafe Judkins had specifically said that, that she was Elaine, and was very excited for all of us to see season 2, just because of how well she embodied the character. And, I totally believed it and bought into it, but was still surprised at how well she did. It was sort of like they wrote her character. She had been aged up. They kind of got rid of a lot of the silliness that RJ had, and just kind of kept the most basic parts of her character that made Elaine so great, and then let Kira go. And it was like she was almost uncanny in the way she was able to embody the character. And was by far my favorite part of the series. I thought she did so well.
Well, let's touch a little bit about Tom Maryland. There was in the show some reference to Tom as being similar to the books, in which he was a part of the royal family as the bard. All right. So when I had read in the books, when Elaine was flirting with Tom, sitting on his knee, pulling on his stashes, being like, "Oh, you handsome," and Tom's like, "Whoa," knuckling away. He's like, but let's take this Tom Maryland and this Elaine. Could we have seen some sort of flirting between them, do you think?
No, because I think they were definitely going in the direction that Tom was her biological father. And
okay.
I mean, I got that.
Gross.
I might have just gleaned that, but whatever. But that would make that incredibly stepbrothers.com or whatever. But it's just it's really, even in the books, it was like, oh my God, like when Nynaeve was like, I need to put a stop to this, I was like, yes, please.
Please do.
But it was like, I don't know what that was about or whatever. It was creepy to read. But I know
I have my theories, but like, yeah,
it was so gross.
Yeah, I've.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of speaks to. I'll say this as a devil's advocate on a very small scale. It speaks to the fact that Elaine was very sheltered, and didn't really have connections to a social network, or she was always the daughter heir. She was always being positioned to take over the throne. She didn't really have a regular social life.
Same as Glenn.
Whoever, so the first time she sees Tom, and there's this sort of emotional connection, I can on a very tiny scale understand how she might have like wildly misinterpreted that as trying to supplant her mother like in his life, but it came across as like
my theory about why RJ just made that ill-considered decision is that you have a conversation between Elaine and Nynaeve at the beginning where Nynaeve is like, what the fuck are you doing? And Elaine kind of talks about Min's vision. And so you show her kind of trying to get her head around the idea of non-monogamy. And so she's like, okay, maybe I'll explore too. So I think RJ is setting this up in such a way so that Rand doesn't look like an asshole when later on in the book he fucks Avienda. Because otherwise it's like, a lot of the people would be like, what an asshole. And so if she's flirting with Tom beforehand, but also like the logic of the character Elaine would be like, if I'm going to practice this and I'm my sheltered self, I'm going to practice this on someone who I know 100% won't take advantage of me. But boy, it just like did no.
All right, girl, I have some thoughts. All right, so here I was thinking about this today, and this, I don't know where this came out of. This came out of probably nowhere, but
your ass.
Bear with me, please. So we saw when Egwene was doing her dream weaving. She saw that that Elaine was dreaming about Avienda on the boat, right? And they
in
were
the show.
like,
You're talking about the show.
On the show, yes.
Okay.
This is all show stuff I'm talking about. And we saw when Rand was hurt and he looked up and there was like that glow behind her and she's like, I'm Elaine. And it was all like super glowy and like Princess Bridey. I came up with a theory. I think that Rafe would have had Rand have 3 lovers, but one of them would have been male. And it would have been because Min has not there was no sexual connection. Min seems like everyone's just buddy, just punch her in the arm and hey, there was no Min. That Min was not going to be sitting on Rand's lap, cuddling, doing this shit, reading books.
What you just friend zone Min?
I friend zoned Min. If Matt didn't stand a chance, no.
I'm pretty sure the baby she saw in the vision at the end of episode 8 was hers.
It's her baby.
She pours a drink, and when Moraine's like, "Whose baby?" she turns away and takes the drink. I don't know. It looks like any other baby, and I was like, beautiful body language to show she's lying.
That it was Rand's child.
It was Rand's
and her baby. Rand's
Rand's
baby.
Min. So Min, the one person who wasn't pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
god. Yeah, it's
I
getting weird. All right.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, look, I'm on board with Yosha making out with other dudes. Give it to me.
I watched that movie.
I watched that movie. It's very sexy, and I think he could have pulled it off greatly. And I know that would have set some of the fandom off on a tangent, but I'm for it.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, representation, love it. But I also wonder. I do think. In my own mind, like just thinking about what 8 seasons would look like, even with 8 episodes, trying to thread people into where they're supposed to be, which I think was a concern with the problems of season 1, and then trying to smooth that into season 2, and they were getting somewhere with season 3. So let's say by season 5, they may have had an opportunity to get men to Rand and start creating a connection there. But I think it's hard to imagine because there was just such a short period of time, and there was just such
it would be so forced.
Not a context as a person watching the show that we can see that happening. But I mean, that is true. She saw that vision, and I immediately I was like, oh, that's her baby.
I thought it was genius to have Elaine and Avienda as a couple, because I never bought that Avienda was really into Rand or vice versa. But if that was the kind of the deal where she's like, oh, okay, my first sister, my lover, is bisexual and likes this guy, and then I'm down. And so, like, I felt more sympathy for the show version than I did for the book version, to be honest.
I love that. And honestly, like the way that we saw Bane and Shiad, together, as far as like first sisters, and saying, wherever she goes, I'm going to go. I'm 100% in with her. And so getting Elaine and Avienda to that point would have made the transition to Elaine, especially, I love Rand, and Avienda goes, wherever you go, I'm going to go. And so, and of course there's, that dynamic with Avienda as well, but it would have made a lot more sense having them together and then approaching Rand than trying to do it from like a velociraptor.
So let me ask you guys, from a fucking old heterosexual cis male, like, does the like would the lesbian community be so I think that bisexuality is kind of like okay, you can do that, but like to commit lesbian gay, like, so if you have Avienda and Elaine,
this is fun watching Dan stumble around.
No, come on. You have them in a gorgeous, loving fantasy relationship on a boat, and then you insert a man into this thing. Is that problematic at all? Is that like just like, oh, okay, they just fucked up a gay thing to, you know what I mean?
So
Morgan, I'll let you go first.
Dad Swain, do not condescend me.
I am not 100% the right person to ask this question, because my wife and I are both bisexual and have had long relationships with men. We're both kind of off men right now, just because fuck the patriarchy. But it's like we have are technically non-monogamous and have while together had occasional relationships with men. So we're kind of like, for like the quote unquote, sometimes we're kind of like the type of people that make people angry, because it's sort of like we have to make sure that we're quite openly, especially me, because I just look like stereotypical lesbian, have to quite openly be like, no, I'm bisexual. Got to make sure to clarify, because I don't want to be the person who makes someone be like, oh, well, here's somebody who, was with a man or got with a man, or she and her wife also like men, and it's just sort of like, no. Bisexual people are bisexual people, they like both people. That's what's bisexual about it, and so it's like, I get that it is a common fantasy for men to like the idea that they can join in a relationship with two women, and that makes lesbians feel very invalidated a lot of times, because lots of men are gross creeps, and so they want to insert themselves in relationships or situations with all kinds of women, whether the women are single, whether the women are gay, whether the women are straight, whether the women are married, and so it's sort of like there's male sex pests all over the place who are trying to insert themselves in relationships with women. Gay, straight.
Morgan, was there like some eyebrows raised when in that flicker with Moraine that she was with Rand, and it was like, well, no, I thought you were gay?
Probably. I'm sure it was upsetting to some people, but it's just like, I can understand the feeling of invalidation. I can totally understand and sympathize with it, because it's like, yeah, a lot of times, lesbians get invalidated a lot. they get validated because a lot of them have, had heterosexual sex before they're like, no, I'm not into the penis, or because it took them a while to come out or to figure themselves out or whatever. And so it's like they get invalidated a lot. That doesn't change the fact that people like me and my wife exist and have, relations with men. And so it's sort of like, I love the Avienda and Elaine thing with Rand, because for me, I'm like, look, representation for someone like me. And, and like the gayer that they can make Avienda look, because it's sort of like, I get assumed to be straight, or when I was married to my ex-husband and I would talk about my husband, I would get pitying looks like, oh, please come out already. It was just sort of like,
yeah.
And I would have to try to be like, look, I've been out of the closet since I was 15. I'm just not completely gay. It's like, and there were a lot of, or you get bisexual men who are just very obviously queer. And so they get told, you're just gay. And so, women won't date them, and some of them are heteroamorous. And so they have really lonely lives, and it's sad, and it's sort of like, so getting that kind of bisexual representation is great. Is it problematic in the fact that it upsets and makes, lesbians feel invalidated? Sure, some of them do feel invalidated, but they get invalidated all the time in all kinds of different ways. And that's just systemic issues with patriarchy, with our society, with, issues in the queer community. And it's like, and that sucks and needs to get addressed. And part of that is, that bisexual people need to be very open about, bisexual is bisexual,
right.
And
What the way that I saw representation, and I'm probably wrong, but I saw Maxim, who did not seem bi. It seemed like he was forced bi. He was into Ivan. Ivan had a girlfriend, so he's like, I love him, he loves her, so I will therefore join this triangle that I didn't. I mean, so again, to that point, it's just, it's like, all right, well then you could just be bi. If you're gay, then you can just be bi as well.
Yeah, but I think, like in the queer community, and Morgan, I think you'll agree with me. Like it's very difficult because we understand inside the queer community that this sexuality falls onto some type of spectrum. And so when somebody says, hey, Dad Swain, are you gay? It's like, yeah, I'm gay, but I fucked women before I fucked men, and I dated women, and I was engaged to a woman before I got involved with men. So they're kind of like, so you're bi, but that's not the definition standard that we go by, because it is a journey for us. And look, Brother Dan, you're one of my favorite cis hetero males
I'm listening
in the entire world. And so I have to tell you, like the heterosexual world feels like they're kind of behind sometimes when they look into our world and see how we view sexuality and how we try to express it, because it is a journey for us in a very like visceral, literal sense. Like a lot of times we look at heterosexual, population, and it's such the status quo and such the norm that you guys don't really even think about it the way that we have to think about it. And so when we say bisexual, or I used to fuck women or fuck men, or I'm married to another bisexual, or things like that, like it takes on a very different meaning for us. So to see Avienda and Elaine together made so much sense, regardless of whether they end up with Rand or not. That even makes sense to us, because it's just kind of like, of course, it's part of this journey, and it makes a whole lot of sense, and it is representation. And yes, there are people who demand to stay on the ends of this scale, and they're like, I am gay, I am lesbian, but that's not the truth of the journey for everybody. So while yes, that series of things where Moiraine was banging Rand might have been shocking to a lot of lesbians, because they really did latch on to Moiraine and Swan as a lesbian power couple who were a featured, prominent set of characters in a very, very widely watched series, which doesn't always happen. And so there is a sense that sometimes they're like, oh, they're going to throw that man in there, to make it more acceptable for other people. But that's not exactly, the the sense of the journey that we all get. And it is very difficult for a lot of us in the queer community to kind of like pinpoint and say A, B, C, because it's not always A, B, C. And it's hard to communicate that sometimes to outside the queer community, which I think is a lot of the reason why there's this sort of disconnect and why we have so much that we have to fight for, is because it is difficult for us to say, okay, we don't really have A, B, C. We have like a tree, well.
Right.
Well, and the thing with like Maxim too is I felt especially seen by him. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're so.
No, I'm sorry.
Cut out.
You kind of froze for a second.
Yeah. Man, that speech that you guys missed.
Spicy.
But yeah,
a mic drop.
I felt especially seen by Maxim because I was sort of like, okay, this is someone who is mostly homoamorous, not possibly entirely because it's obvious that he loves Alana. He did come to the relationship through Ivan. And so it was like, okay, that doesn't mean that his, queerness is invalidated or that, he's being forced to be, in a heterosexual relationship or whatever. It's just sort of like he fell in love with this order and he was brought into it. As someone who is, far more homoamorous than I am, heteroamorous, I just, women do it for me much more than men do. And it's like, so I saw that, but I was just sort of like, but that doesn't mean that, I didn't feel tremendous fondness, and I still am very fond of my ex-husband. So it's just sort of like, you can feel feelings for someone of the opposite sex while still knowing that it's sort of like your same-sex partners are the ones that like you really, really feel for. They're the ones that like, that's where your heart really is at. And so, yeah, that's just like part of being queer and on a spectrum. It's one of the reasons why I appreciated that they started, it's been many years at this point, but started using queer as kind of an umbrella term, because I was like, that's useful for me. It's far harder for me to be like, I'm a bi-identified dyke with moderate gender queerity. It's just sort of like, it's much easier to just be like, I'm queer. So I'm a queer person. It's like, I don't have to like try to like parse it down so much. And because identity can be so complicated.
Yeah, and it's always adapting. Like I come from a generation where queer was like a hateful word, so it was very difficult for me to kind of say, okay, what we're trying to do here is say that as we all evolve, queer kind of is an umbrella term that we can use to say this is still this safe space for us, and regardless of what your expression is, it can fit under this umbrella much more clearly maybe than gay, lesbian, bisexual, or whatever, which is probably why we keep adding letters on to this incredible alphabet.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, never mind. I don't think anything.
Yeah, but also, I mean, just to say again, like, that's why it's so important, I think, for us to have allies like you guys, because it helps us stay connected to the world in itself. Like, we're a very small population of the world when it all comes down to it, and so we're still trying to figure ourselves out, and we're doing a great job of it, but it is a fight. And so when we have people, like Brother Dan and like Ryan and like many of the people in the Wheel of Time community who are there to help us, and even RJ, writing out these, things, whether they're great writing or whether they're not great writing. It was an attempt, and it was appreciated.
Yeah, and I don't know. I always appreciate how I know RJ gets a lot of shit for the way that he wrote his relationships, but it's like he wrote them in the 90s where it's sort of like if you were mostly heteroamorous, you maybe didn't identify as bisexual necessarily. I went to a women's college where a lot of women would fuck women because there weren't a lot of men, but considered themselves straight because it was sort of like if you weren't really like, didn't feel real love toward, a same-sex partner, you didn't necessarily consider yourself bisexual in the 90s. Nowadays, we're like bisexual is also a spectrum, so you don't have to necessarily be, homoamorous to be bisexual if you're, it's just like, so I know a lot of people hate the way that he wrote those characters or those queer relationships where they seem so much like, oh, they're only queer because they're in an institution where there are only women. But having been in a college where there were only women, and there was quite a bit of like, situational, homosexuality around the fact that there were people who were perhaps same-sex attracted, but not necessarily emotionally attracted to members of the same sex. It's just a very 90s thing. I went to college in the 90s, and it's just so 90s. So
that's hashtag Morgan had pillow friends.
Yeah. Well,
Dan, real quick, Dan Wyatt, I'm sorry, you're getting a ban. That's too much. That's crazy. That's such bullshit.
Do we well, I got so
and also
there's
real
no
quick, Dan,
issue. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just to carry on with the positive comments, Kier Colligan says, cheers to your welcome. Everyone's been really nice to her. She's like, I'm a reader since 98, fan of all the WAP pods since COVID. Love new readers and deep dives. This is likely my first comment on YouTube ever.
Hey.
Long reign of puppets. Oh, that brings a tear to my eyes.
Lucky us.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Ryan, cleanse the palate, would you?
Yeah, so we love
Elaine.
Yeah, so back to Elaine. I liked how gay they made her.
Yeah, she was great.
All right, this is for you, Kier. All right. Let's wrap this bad boy up. That was an amazing conversation. I really, 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 really appreciate Morgan and Dad Swain, your honesty and your ability to express such like nuanced and deeply felt. You're expressing your life right here.
Yeah, I appreciate all this.
Man, I'm always learning, and I love it. And thank you guys. I just want to say thank you. I had no idea we were going to go down this rabbit hole.
That was great. That was unexpected and wonderful.
Well, talk to me, guys.
All right. Jansen, kind of, I think Tech Gods gobbled Jansen up. He'll be back next week, I'm assuming. But guys, let's, Morgan, do you have anything you want to say about your show? You got anything coming up that we need to know about?
No, I'm on a break from school, but I'm also resting my brain. So I hope to get back to doing podcasting stuff eventually. It's just, like I said, very intellectually labor intensive, and I just don't have the brain space for it while I'm doing school stuff. So I've been doing a lot of crafting lately. So I've been making metal models right now. And then I'm gonna start making like Christmas ornaments or something. Like I'm trying to get. I'm not very good, so I'm trying to get better. But
what?
Amazing.
Can you do a Christmas ornament that looks like that?
That looks like what?
The leaves?
The way the leaf?
Your leaf. Well, I'm actually going to pick up from Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to go pick up some like wooden boxes to like sand and repaint. We're trying to make reusable Christmas presents, so that if we like get boxes to put under the tree, basically, that are all pretty and sparkly, and then we can just like put the gifts inside the boxes. Or for years that we decide to do our gifts more like like a trip or a class or something, we still have like presents under the tree that look awesome, so that we're doing that.
Morgan, I'm so glad I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love your adoration of Christmas.
I love Christmas. It's very gay. I've heard
it is indeed.
Hey, winter is sucky and dark, so it's like Christmas is happy and sparkly.
You'll have to come to Australia because when Christmas happens in the summer. So
I don't know how I could deal with that. Like,
it was the mindfuck to come here and be like, "What are you? What?"
Like when you go to the beach and stuff like that.
Santa like runs across the beach. It's fantastic.
Well, obviously that's when Jesus not born until December 20.
That is
something.
correct. Yes.
So you're having a fake Christmas. You're not
Australians
celebrating the birth
don't
of our
follow
Lord
the
Jesus.
rules. We don't follow the rules.
I got sound effects, Dan.
All right, I love you guys. Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
We'll be back next week, and we're talking the last battle with our first time readers. We're taking this week off, and then we're hitting it. Last battle.
All right.
So if anyone wants to jump in, let us know, man. This is the chapter that we read
the
about.
culmination.
That we read about forever. Ooh.
What's that, Dan?
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's what's up.
Ooh. Last
I
but
got
not
a belly
least,
shirt.
find Morgan's podcast here.
Yes.
Quickly write all that down. And as always, run for your lives. This is the